Welcome everyone to this Force Friday. Today we are going to talk about animals. This is in celebration of the 10th anniversary edition of the Force animal drawing book. I know I can't believe it, but it's already been a decade, right? 10 years ago that this book came out. It was the second book actually in the series. I did the first one in around 2006. So 2016 was the 10th anniversary for that one. And then I just thought, what better place to go to than to animal drawing as the next book in the library, and here we are now. We're 5 books in, and we're working on 2 right now in tandem. So we'll be up to 7 books, hopefully by the end of next year, right? I have to say, with the support of Swenley and Mrityunjay. So with that, right, let's say hello to our other Force instructors. How's it going, Mrityunjay?
Going good. So excited.
Yeah.
Congratulations, dudes.
I know.
Yeah, you get a hard cut
Say what? Oh yeah, he did. Look at him.
to celebrate.
Maybe you could tell me where you get your haircut, because you can see I'm in desperate need of one. I've been so busy. I'm going back to like my 70s hairstyle here, How are you doing, Swenley?
Yeah, good. Excited as well for the 10th anniversary. I remember the first time I read the animal drawing book a while back, and yeah, it's been 10 years already.
I have to say, creating the animal drawing book was probably one of my favorite ones to create. I love drawing animals. I love going to the zoo. I've always had pets, from childhood to now. I've had a lot of cats when I was a kid, and now I've had dogs for like the last 20, 25 years. I have 2 dogs right now, which maybe here and there you might see drawings of on my Instagram. I have a larger dog named Hazel and a smaller guy named Ditto. Hazel's such a great dog. When we got the little guy who was after, we were like, we hope he's exactly like the bigger dog. So we called him Ditto. And he's actually a pretty good dog. I think she trained him well, But I loved creating this book. For me, it brings back a lot of fond memories of going to the LA Zoo with my daughters when we moved to California from New York. And it was like right around the corner from our house. So I spent many hours at the LA Zoo. And then also when I moved to the Bay Area, there's a place called Safari West. So any of you in California, or not, if you ever move out to or visit the Bay Area, there's a place called Safari West that's maybe an hour and a half north of San Francisco. And it's awesome. They have these double-decker Jeeps, open air Jeeps that they take you on over these hills in California. And they have these huge areas of gated property that they take you through, and there's just wild animals running around. There's like, all of a sudden you'll see like a whole bunch of zebra running by, and there's wildebeest. And at the very beginning, there's giraffes and stuff. And I always recommend take the top seats outside in the front of the bus, because the giraffe typically come over and they're curious, and they'll come right over to your face. So you've got this giraffe head that's like the size of half of my body, like just right in your face, coming over to say hello. Is just amazing. I mean, their eyeballs are huge. It's like a softball, just gigantic. So yeah, check out Safari West. Amazing, amazing zoo, amazing place. I've been to many zoos in my life. Dallas Zoo is actually a very good zoo. They also, over there, they feed the giraffes from the top down. So, guests can come over and feed the giraffes, and their head's also like pretty high and pretty close to you. So that's pretty awesome. San Diego Zoo is pretty good. Every zoo's got like its strengths and weaknesses. Now I'm in the Portland area, so I'm going to start hitting up the zoo over here as well, and do more animal drawing. And hopefully, I'm hoping in the future to even hold up some animal drawing classes here in the Portland area and get you guys to come out. So let's get to it. We have a lot to cover today. The way we're going to break it down today is, like the book, there's 3 types of locomotive classes in animals. There's the plantigrades, the digigrade, and the unguligrade or ungulates. So I'm going to handle the introduction today, and we're going to do plantigrade with me. Then we're going to pass the ball to Swenley, who's going to handle digigrade, which are like cats and dogs, for instance. And then Mrityunjay is taking on the most challenging, I would say, which are the ungulates. Those are animals with hooves, right? And there's even-toed and odd-toed animals in that class. Even just means that the hoof has 2 toes in it. That's like goats, for instance, where you have a split in the front. And then there's odd-toed, which is one giant hoof, like a horse, for instance, right? So let's get to it. Let's head over to Photoshop and take you guys through how to draw animals with force, right? me get my view here to see what you guys are talking about. Before we get in, let's see. What are the titles? I guess you're asking of the book. So maybe Mrityunjay or Swanley can answer Sahil about the book titles as best you can. And I'll get to it. So here's the latest cover for the Force Animal Drawing book. So I love consistency. As you know, I like systems, which is why we're here talking about Force. So every time a 10th anniversary edition of a book comes out, we're going from these blue covers and I'm inverting it to the orange, which are the two main colors of directional and applied forces in the branding of Force. So if you're out there and you're looking at the books and you see an orange version of a book like this, you know that that's an updated version. So for instance, you can see behind Mrityunjay's head, the figure drawing book has the orange on the top. That's the 10th anniversary edition of the first book right now. He's got the old animal drawing one back there. You'll see it's blue on blue. And here's the new one, which is orange on blue, right? So if you're out there, and it says 10th Annie on it, right? So always check out for that. This way, make sure you're getting the most updated. By the way, the new version, what's new? First of all, it's all in like color. The old edition was black and white. And we also color coded the pages similar to the anatomy book. I'm going to do that in like every book I can moving forward. I just think that was really successful in the use of the book. So it's got the color coding and it's got new drawings, right? New drawings by me. And also now there are drawings in that book by Swanley and Mrityunjay also. So go check out their work. All right, so let's do it. So my big epiphany, I didn't know this right away. I just knew I wanted to do an animal drawing book. And I started realizing in my research that there was a massive difference between drawing humans and drawing mammals, right? Four-legged animals. The main difference is that, here, let me sketch this out really quick for you. The main difference is in the skeleton, right? So in the skeleton on a human, right? Here's kind of the box of it, and here's the rib cage. You have your scapula here, and your scapula's got a ball and socket joint that goes to the humerus, and the scapula is back here, right? And this is the collarbone right here, and it's fused over here with ligament, right? So in humans, that means your arm and your scapula are attached to your rib cage, right? But on these four-legged mammals, these animals, they do not have that connection. Their humerus bone for their upper arm with their scapula is not attached to the rib cage. And the way it's attached to the rib cage in people is through this connection with the clavicle, which then connects over here to the sternum and the rib cage. And that doesn't happen. There's floats. So imagine now you've got this scapula here with this ball and socket joint in the humerus, and it's all by itself. So in animals, it's all their muscles that are attached to that are holding it in place, but give it a broad range of flexibility, much broader than ours, right? So that's why, for instance, when you see on like cats and dogs, even I'll be drawing some animals for you today as well, but let's just take a cat or a dog, right? You'll see it like this, right? And you'll see the scapula on a cat or a dog, especially cats, right? You'll see it stick out past the edge of the back because it's not fused to the rib cage, right? So depending on how it's walking and if its muscles are tensed or not, if it's really relaxed and it's just striding along and its leg is here, it's pushing that leg up, right? And the weight of the body is being carried down, right, in the chest. And therefore this is sticking out past the edge of the body, right? Like you can actually see like I said, that scapula edge sticking out, which is amazing, right? So that was my big epiphany. That led me to discovering and designing this, which I call the Force animal shape, right? So the animal shape is this main silhouette that looks like a worm almost, right? Or a seal, you see? And it has these three main sections. So this is the silhouette I'm talking about, right? This is the silhouette. It led me to this because what I realized was, force is always pushing up here. So I have a curve of force here. It's always hanging down here because of what we just talked about with this fuse, this non-fused or non-connected scapula and humerus to the rib cage. So it's always hanging, right? And then from there, we come up through that to the neck and head because of how the spine works up here and how it connects into the back of the skull of these mammals. So I had this, right? I started recognizing, oh, okay, I've got this. If I put in my rules of straight to curve, right, and I get this going, right, like so, well, then that leads me suddenly to this shape, right? And then from there, what I started saying is, okay, that's cool. It looks like a seal. Does this work? And then I started bringing it over to like squirrels and mice, like very simple mammals. And that led to cats and dogs. I was like, okay, I could do the same thing here. And then it led to horses. I'm like, darn, I could do the same thing here as well. And it led to stuff like giraffes. So even a giraffe can still be designed with the same shape, believe it or not, which is pretty crazy. And this is in the book, by the way. But you know, a giraffe is like this also. You see? Now, giraffes, they have an addition to this shape. So this is the main giraffe shape, okay? It's like this. But giraffes have these huge bones that stick out of their spine here because of the muscles of the neck that get connected to this and the shoulder and all. Well, really the neck needs this support system down here. So it ends up creating this gigantic kind of triangle that you'll see here in their body. Kind of looks like this, right? So don't be fooled by that. Their spine is actually lower. It's like this. So they still follow the shape. When I draw giraffes, I do focus on this triangle, but I'm aware the spine is in there. But I focus on that triangle and I still work the force animal shape off of that. You see like this, right? And then I can get in their shoulders and elbows and so on and move down the anatomy. You see, but look, there's a fast just gesture of it. And you can see it only takes me a few seconds to draw it because I'm using this animal shape in my mind to get down the basics, right? Just like the figure, we're working hierarchically. We want to understand the rhythms. The rhythms are right here, 1, 2, and 3, right? 3 main rhythms, one less than humans. We normally have 4 to get through this space. They only have 3, even simpler, right? And be aware of gravity, as always, right? The reason I created this 1, 2, 3 and this shape design is because of really the hanging up here and the pushing up here and the pushing up here, right? So you can see the inversion of chest hanging and neck and head and then pelvis pushing up, right? So you got 1 down, 2 up, right? So that's it, right? Like that's the magic of drawing any mammal's torso. You can remember this, you can start manipulating it. You know, you could take it into form, right? So here it is, now it's in perspective and it's got structure, right? You can see I've got some wrapping lines going around here. All of a sudden we've blown in some volume, right? So that works. Here it is just me just drawing different shapes in different directions with some overlap, right? So you start doing this, you start just practicing what I call the force blob, basically, right? But here it is as the animal shape, because now it's 3 shapes, right? We had 3 shapes: pelvis, rib cage, neck, and head, right? Those 3 shapes are intertwined into one another, and you get into these kind of worm-like looking things. Yeah, exactly. What a worm. Yeah. And that leads us to this. So when I teach this class, I've taught animal drawing in zoos. This is where we go. For me, it's tough. I actually don't like when the zoo doesn't have seals because I really like starting here. You know, most zoos will have a seal exhibit. So I usually take the class over to seals first. If you have a zoo near you and you have seals, you could literally walk through the book in the order with which it is created from chapter to chapter and start with the seals, right? Just see if you can get the fluidity of them, just the fast shaping, right? So you can see it's pretty straightforward. You know, you can see here it is. Here's the force animal shape, right? Just flowing through these seal drawings. So that leads us to the other part, right? So now if this was a car, we have the carriage of the car set up, but we haven't put on the wheels yet. I haven't talked about the arms and legs, right? But the carriage is there and that's huge, right? That's a very big deal. Is that we have, you know, a shape design we can push across all different kinds of animals. Now we have hands and legs, or hands and feet, right? Or arms and legs, whichever way you want to describe it. What happens is within each grade, you can see here at the top, I talk about plantigrade, digigrade, and unguligrade. What's happening is on the hands and the arm, the wrist is being raised off the ground. So on plantigrade animals, that would be like a raccoon or a bear. They're basically walking around the way we would if we were on our hands and feet. Okay, they are the closest to human. All right. Digigrade, on the other hand, they go up onto the digits, right? They go onto the ball of the hand, and notice they go onto the ball of the foot, you see? And then ungulates, we raise even higher, right? So now we're on like the tippy toe of, of the foot and of the fingertip of the hand. And that causes a more tension, a springiness, right? That joint being raised gives the more springiness to the animal, right? Which typically allows them to run a lot faster, right? So here you can see, here's the back leg, height equals spring. You can see the knee gets raised higher and higher, and the ankle gets raised higher and higher. So you're creating this like much longer section of tension between the ankle and the toe when it touches the ground, which creates this stronger suspension, this stronger spring in the leg. So in general, animals get faster as they go through the different grades. The only exception, at least that I'm aware of, is the cheetah, right? Because the cheetah is a digigrade mammal and is faster than a horse, as an example, right? Otherwise, like I said, in general, they get a little quicker as they go and more springy, So if you can combine the chassis that we talked about of the car, which is the shape, and then you pick the mammal type, which, like I said, is now color-coded in the book. You say, I want to draw bears, right? So that's a plantigrade. You go to that color. In the front of each chapter, there's actually an anatomical outline of the skeleton of that animal. It talks about what grade they are. And then there's tons of drawings of mine, I think for plantigrade of mine, with bears and raccoons, squirrels, rats, mice, all kinds of plantigrades, and how that actually works, right? And then each chapter's got that same kind of situation. Okay, so here's an example. These are two drawings that are right out of the book. Okay, and you can see here's two drawings of bears. They're plantigrades, right? And you can see that, let me kind of call out the shaping on this. Some of them are more obvious and some are not, so be aware of that, but I'm still burying the idea in here. So this is actually going from here to here to here. All right, so I'm going from here to here to here, and his head's turning this way, right? So as I swoop around the neck and head, I'm actually bringing it up over and around, right? I want this to push up, I want this to hang down, and then his head is twisting. So I'm going to come up over the neck and head, and I'm going to turn his face that way, right? So that's my fluidity. Then I go to the body. Now, the thing to keep in mind with all of these, with all the mammals, like I said, is you're dealing with arms and legs. Seals are a good place to start, and then you work up to the plantigrades. On the plantigrades, the shoulder is right here, inside the shape or silhouette of the body, and the elbow is there right at the edge. So this is actually your elbow right here, E for elbow. And then this is your forearm, so F for forearm, and your wrist, W for wrist, is right there. And then basically the bear's walking on his hand, okay? Walking around on his hand. And then here, and this goes for all the mammals, you're gonna have the pelvis sitting up here, right? And you're gonna have the ball and socket joint of the pelvis. And then that goes down to this. This first angle here is the knee, right? So K for knee, right? That's actually the knee. This is the ankle or the heel, right? Let's put ankle here. And then you can see this is a foot. It's like a human foot, right? And he'll walk flat-footed and then roll up onto the ball of his foot and walk just like you do, right? So you want to be aware, like I said, with bears, you can almost like mimic a bear. It's like the one animal you can kind of, well, you can do cats as well. It's hard to do a horse or those guys because they're on tippy toes, but as a person yourself, you can get down on all fours and mimic a bear or a cat or a dog. Like cat or dog, you have to get on the balls of your hands and the balls of your feet, and that's the digigrades. On the plantigrades, you've got to get flat-footed and kind of walk around, right? Now, your body, as I said before, your rib cage is not set up to be as flexible as theirs are. Oh, which leads me also to one other note. Our rib cages are like this, meaning, here's the front. and they're more left to right, the ellipse. Mammals, animals right theirs go like this. They're more vertical, which allows for this sliding up and down of their scapula. You see, it's like their rib cage has been designed more for the hanging downward, where ours is not, because we're upright. And with that hanging downward with gravity and having the ellipse go long, because gravity is pulling down, you also then have the scapula being able to sweep up and down the sides, right, which allows for this fluid movement of theirs, right? Let's see, how's it going out there in the chat? Any questions? I'm being gully. Okay, doesn't seem like we have any questions as far as scapula going up as longitudinally. No, it looks like we're all good. Okay, so here's bears. I brought in some drawings of some squirrels. So a squirrel is basically a little bear. All right, it's like a tiny little bear with a long tail to help it balance. Anytime you have a long tail on an animal, it's balanced. It's no accident that that tail is there, by the way, okay? One of my dogs, Ditto, he has no tail. He has a little stump, right? I didn't cut it off. He came like that, by the way, just to make sure I'm not getting blamed for cutting off dogs' tails. That means he cannot turn corners as well as my other dog who has a long tail, right? You'll notice cheetahs, which is going to be in Swenley's domain today. Cheetahs have very long tails and they're actually kind of bigger and puffier at the end, right? So it has a great amount of ability to counterbalance itself because of the length of its tail as it's running, right? You know, horses have tails, right? So all these animals typically that have to run and can take tight cornering and stuff, they'll have a tail to help them counterbalance. It's almost like a rudder in a sense, right? Squirrels have a huge tail, right? They're having to run around, they're jumping from tree to tree. They don't want to be in the air and like swirling all over the place, right? They have to kind of keep a control over a centeredness as they go through the air and get from one place to another. So they have a big fluffy tail. It's pretty thick, right? And that allows for more control and less rotation, right? So anyway, next time you look at a squirrel, hopefully you'll imagine that he's actually just a little bear with a giant fluffy tail. And the same with raccoons, you know, same thing, right? So all these guys are basically little bears, right? All these animals, a mouse is a little bear, right? They're all the same thing. Or you can say a bear is, you know, is a giant mouse, same thing, okay? All right, so I have a bear here. I grabbed a photograph. I thought I would just sketch out for you. Maybe we'll iterate. We'll see how I'm doing on time. I don't have much more time left. So I just thought I would rough this out. So what do I want, right? I want just movement, right? Remember here, we're here with force drawing. I like how his hip, his upper body is all pushing that way. I mean, his lower body, his pelvis is pushing that way. And then I want to sweep that up against this, okay? So you can see I'm going from here to here and then into his head. Right, and then it kind of flattens out at the top, especially bears. They have these long snouts, right? So here's the body, right? So if I wanted to, I could start like shaping this out. It's pretty thick right in here. He's very thick. He's got kind of a strongish angle right here. So I'm kind of chopping that in. I want to keep him pretty thick here. I might put some volume in here to help me, right? So I'm getting some roundness, right? I'm getting to his head. I'm just going to shape it out right now very crudely. Right, so something like this. So there's the basis, right? The basis of it is I've got my force animal shape. It's kind of proportional, right? I'm trying to squeeze it in there. It doesn't have any of the detail yet, right? It's not detailed, but the main idea is there. If I get the arms and legs on here, what I know is the shoulder, you can kind of see around the loop over here that there's like a ring around him. Right, let me see if I can pull this out for you. You notice it's about right here, right? So you see there's a bump here. So this is like his scapula is sitting in here, and then we have to get to the front of his shoulder. So the scapula is hooking up to his shoulder, and that's going to go to his elbow, and his elbow is going to go down to his hand. And I want this to stay round, though. So I want that information, but I want it round because he's in perspective, right? And then back here, you can kind of see this line, the separation right here from his body. Now his hips are all the way up here. And this is his knee. And then that knee is going to go back to his heel. And then over here is his knee, and that's going to go back to his other heel. And then he's got little fuzzy round feet, right? So let's take all that information. Let's delete this off of there. And I'm going to try to bring that into the drawing. This drawing up here. So I got that roundness there. I've got roundness here. Brush a little bigger. Right. And then I want to start drawing this in. So I'm going to come off that roundness and say, yeah, I know his shoulder is about right here. And I want to sweep that to the back of his elbow, which is about right here. Now I'm still following the rules of force from the human body, believe it or not. I'm going from the shoulder, elbow side into the wrist. And I'll bet his wrist is, well, you know, not that one. This one's landing. So this one is strong, right? I think he's on the ground with this. Right? His hand is probably like here. So this is from here to here. It's something like this. Okay. And the other one, it looks like he's swinging it back. So I would go from here off the shoulder, elbow side, and I'd probably put a little rhythm there in the hand. You can see it's dragging down there in the grass. The high grass is here, right? So I would go from here to here and then swing that back. And then here we've got his leg, right? So it's this bulkiness that's coming forward that's right here. And then that's going to sweep me back to his heel. So I'm basically doing a front of knee, front of calf in this case. And then I've got his foot sitting there. And then I've got the shape, right? So this is all my curve. Here's my straight. I'd have another straight there. And that would get me the shape. He's got a little tail, which you can't see, but maybe I put a little bump there to insinuate that. All right, so he's like that. I'm gonna flatten him up a little bit. I get the perspective of, his head and his nose in there. So those are angles. I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that. He's pretty straight in here, right? Got his ear over here and his other ear over here. And then I can start dealing with some of the smaller details. It's like how does his fur block out? Where are his eyes in this? There's an edge in here, right? So this comes down for where his brow is going to be. There's the top of his nose, right? The structure of his muzzle, his mouth, right? He's over here. You got his bottom jaw is sitting over here like this. And then I start looking at the fur and I start shaping that out. I like adding edging to it wherever it breaks on a curve. So I would put it here. I would put it on the knee, anywhere like on the elbows, any kind of curve is where you're going to see the hair sort of break apart. It's good places to add that extra detail, right? So this is rough, but you can see without talking. Oh, let me get the other leg in there. Without talking, I could probably get this done in a minute and a half. I would say 2 minutes at most. Just to get the shaping done, and that's all just coming because it comes so quickly because of understanding how to draw animals with forceful shapes, right? So this guy we can tint in and knock it back. See, any questions out there? Talking about Olympic Games. Let's see, Alan. In case of the digigrade and ungulograde, would it be fair to say that there has to be a stronger opposing force through the flexion that balances out against the extremity? I'm not sure I understand your question. Does it have to be a stronger opposing force through the flexion that balances out against the extremity? If you can elaborate on that, that'd be great. I'd love to answer that for you. Definitely going to have to get the animal book. Does it go into animal? It does go into animal gaits. So there are pages in there that have numerous drawings and sequence of like bears walking and horses walking, for instance. So yes, it does talk about that. Scary to think little bears running around on our back porch. Exactly. Was this bear image available for us before the stream to try out before? It wasn't before the stream, but if you look up bears running, you could find this, by the way. And that's a great idea. Maybe what we'll try to do is prep. I don't know how I would add that. I guess I could put that in through the YouTube channel and say, hey, we're going to be drawing these pictures and you guys would have it beforehand. It's an excellent, excellent idea, actually. Thank you. Okay. So with that, I'm right on cue. I'm going to hand off to Swenley, and Swenley's going to handle the digigrade locomotive set. Okay. All right. All yours, Swenley. I have to get you control. Let's see. Co-host. Co-host. All right, all yours.
All right, let's see. So yeah, thank you, Mike, for the awesome explanation. And I would say thank you for making my life easier because, man, I used to have a hard time trying to understand animals, like looking at an animal, the human, it was like, so alien to me on how to draw animals. And yeah, the force approach made it just easier, to the point that I've even been teaching it for a couple of months now on the Discord. So yeah, let's see. Let me get this out of the way. So digigrades. Mike, of course, did all this explanation about the comparative anatomy, and that is one of the things that really helped me to understand for like mammals better. Of course, you have the force animal shape, and then just like Mike showed with the bear. Let me see, let me grab.
I want to just say this is what I was talking about before, guys. This is actually right out of the book. So every animal that's in the book has a page like this before it goes into doing the drawings of the animal. So you get to see a profile view of the anatomy, and then you'll see in my anal retentive graphic design brain, you'll see there's a rectangular box that shapes out the back leg and the front leg, and that drops down into the two boxes below to say, hey, this box is about the information of the box above, right? So you can see the box on the left is for the back leg, and the one on the right is for the front leg, and those connect to the drawing up above, right?
Yeah, awesome indeed. So in this comparative anatomy, you want to relate I found it easier in any case to relate the parts to human body parts as I'm drawing. So for example, here you have like the top of the pelvis, which connects you to the thigh. And the thigh volume kind of fits in here into the pelvis. Here you have the knee area, and here you have the lower leg. So this is the ankle. As you can see here, this is the ankle, and this is the bottom of the foot. And of course, the digitigrades, they walk on their digits. So you have the bottom of the foot, and you have the toes. And same for the front, like Mike pointed out also for the front, the shoulder blade is very important because it's so, it can move around a lot, so it's important to keep it in mind. I've seen students like focus too much on like the outline, but you want to understand what's going on with the limb as a whole. So you have the shoulder right here, and now here you have like this shape for the upper arm, which then goes into the forearm. And you can see the shape is very similar to a human forearm. Here's the wrist. Now this would be the palm of the hand, and these are the fingers. So it helps a lot to like relate it to these body parts as you're drawing. And of course for each like animal, the proportions may vary, but the parts for each class will remain the same in general. So we have that. And then another thing that I found helped students a lot is drawing the angles of the limbs, like similar with what we do with the gravity guide for a human. You want to be aware of what's going on with those limbs underneath. This will help you understand the function and the forces much better. That, and you also want to be aware of the base of the neck, and that it basically pops out right on top of those shoulders. Again, I've seen students, especially when the neck is like bended like this, I've seen students draw the base of the neck here, but keep in mind that it's at the front of the torso, not at the top of the back. So you want to keep learn to see these angles, for the front limbs. Again, remember the shoulder blade, super important. Now you got the shoulder blade here, you go to the elbow, to the wrist, and then you have the palm of the hands and the fingers, which are like planted on the ground. So, and this is especially important, like when you draw animals which are covered in fur, like this becomes a bit harder to see. So it's important to, like, I would say, make your life easier and start with animals that have like more of the anatomy showing on the surface, like dogs that are a bit skinnier and more muscular, makes it easier to see. So let's see, we have that. And of course, we have the basic rhythms of the limbs. So in general, you have force starting from the shoulder, going and connecting into that elbow, as Mike showed before. And in this position, it just goes down all the way here to the toes. So you can see this provides like a good basis for balance for the animal. And for the leg, it's front to front, front to front into that ankle, and then at the back goes like that. And this can vary depending on the action. This is a good starting point. All right, let's see. So let's quickly draw some dogs right here. I think I probably have time for one. So let's pull this out. Okay, let's put this over here. Actually, let me grab a softer brush. This should do. So we start with the force animal shape, like Mike showed before. So generally, I start with the torso. I can see this head, and especially with dogs, I realize like how much weight there is here. Like you can really feel the hanging of. Grab a slightly bigger brush, so you can really feel the hanging that's going on here, and this connects us to the back of the torso here. So we have something like this. Now you want to keep the drawing fluid and forceful, the flow and connect. Again, think about the base of the neck there in the front of the torso to start giving us some structure. So we go from here, and the head is around here. So again, keeping it super abstract and fluid to start with. I want that sense of, because I can feel like the stretch. And if you watch videos of mammals running, you can see how the torso stretches and compresses as they run. So that's an important idea to capture in the drawings. So we have this. Let's get the head a bit more refined. Let's see this jaw right here. Okay, so that's a good start. So in terms of the angles, I want to be aware of those angles, So I always try to visualize, okay, what's the angle of that shoulder blade? Now I can see the shoulder like poking out here, and this brings me into the elbow. It's just past the edge of the rib cage. Now this is shoulder, upper arm. This is the forearm. Right here you have the wrist, and the palm of the hand and the fingers at a slight angle, and it's pretty symmetrical. So kind of like the same thing is going on here. This is hidden behind that other leg. And you want to be aware of the angle of the pelvis as well. Like if you look at the torso, you can see, or the pelvis, the back of the torso, you can see like this harder moment here, this angle, and you have the bone of the thigh like sticking out. Now I can watch the distance from the bottom of the torso to the knee. This angle like this. So this is thigh, lower leg. Now again, I watch the proportion. This is the bottom of the foot. And then you have the toes like at an angle like this. And the other side is doing pretty much the same thing. This angle is slightly different. So this is important to be aware of. And once you're aware of what's going on underneath the skin, then it's easier to understand the functionality of the limbs. So let's go back and let's add those limbs in here. So this is pushing out, and the elbow is around here. So on the flow, again, flow and connect, keep it loose and fluids. Don't get distracted with shape too early. Remember, function comes first, which is force. Okay, so I think about the roundness of the shoulder, like this wraps around the volume of the torso, and have the shoulder on the farther side. Again, upper arm into the elbow, just sticking out here, and it's going like behind and creates, let it pop out here just for clarity's sake. Also, the dog is stretching. I want to see the connection of the thigh to the pelvis, so I want this connection here. So the knee is around here. This is pushing back into the ankle. Again, this is the bottom of the foot. So usually this is like a straight moment, even though we know that the force is going here at the bottom, and then get like this rhythm here with the toes, which are pointing here. Okay, so again, I want to think about the volume. So how this volume wraps around, and I have the thigh on the other side. The knee is around here, so this one is like hidden there in the back, like that. Of course, we have the tail, which has its own rhythms. Move this a little bit. So the tail is going out, and it's like turning like this. So we have the I have the action. The action is there. So I can quickly do about 3 minutes. So I can quickly do another pass on top. Let's see. Let's get rid of this guy. Let's merge these two. So I can do another pass and like start. Now that I have the functionality down, I can start like sculpting like the smaller forms in there. Like this is still a study, so I would go in there and like draw an abstraction of the shoulder blades. I can see how this is all like pulling into that elbow. Like it's like a bit more angular because the bone is sticking out a bit there. So this goes up. Here I wrap around to show the roundness of that limb. Same here, wrap around the wrist. And here I can start drawing more of the reality of the limb, and especially with these mammals, like here you start seeing more of the shape of the bones, so sometimes you could get something that looks concave, but like I started with the functionality, so I designed those shapes with the functionality, like asymmetrical and forceful as much as possible. Give a little bit of forearm here. So, and this is wrapping around, like the shoulders are connected, they work as a unit. See elbow sticking out here. Now, don't see this in the reference, but I want my drawing to be clearer than the reference, so I'm shaping out this leg behind here just to make it a bit clearer. So we have this, like this is a bit more angular.
Got about 1 more minute.
Yep. Also the cranium would be around here. If the mouth sticking out, it's going here. I can see like the of the bulkiness of the jaw. This is wrapping around, so use the eye line. So the ears, keep in mind that the ears are three-dimensional. They have form as well. And the ears usually have like a clear direction to them. Sometimes they might have a rhythm depending on what they're doing. So the ears are like this. Let's see, so the neck is pulling out underneath the chin. So again, I want to be aware of how this fits into the structure. And here in the front, you have the pectoralis. You have a center line going on, and this is really hanging. I can feel the pull. So I want to get this idea of a stretch super clear in my drawing. All this here, and I think my time is up.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love where it's going. So, I remember when I was at Disney, looking at Swinley's drawing here, I finally had to get my head to turn this corner of seeing animals as people, so imagine looking at this dog as a person jumping off this pier, right? In this position. It's a little weird, right? But you can do it, like imagine the wrists, imagine the knees and the ankles, you want to try to start seeing these mammals as like a human body, and that starts making the process, I think, simpler. All right, let's move over to Mrityunjay. Thank you, Swinley.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, time for me.
Yes.
Oh, you have to permit me.
I thought I did that already. Let's see, permit. Oh, that's because you came in with the second account, right? Let's see, make co-host, here we go. There we go.
Okay. Starting the broadcast. And procreate. All right, so time for ungulates or ungulate-grades, whatever you want to call it. I remember, man, like time is fast. This is our Force Friday 70, and we did the first animal live drawing stream, like it was Force Friday 19. So,
Wow.
A long time.
A year ago, almost
Yep.
a year.
So this is again trying to show up the drawing from the book again. So this is a horse, right? And really tough. I don't know like why I'm getting the most tougher ones right in every streams. So, but anyway, it's fun,
It's your fault. The reason is because you did drawings of horses for the book. So I figured let's have Mrityunjay draw horses.
Yeah, I love them, by the way, so yep, really cool. I think, after like drawing the horses, like they become I think like that become my favorite animal to draw. And just like whenever I'm drawing animal, like doodling animals, I just like draw the horse the very first time. So anyway, now they are the toughest one. I mean, imagine like you being a horse, but you don't have like the hoof. Okay, so like to balance yourself, and you can see actually. Okay, let's make a layer. You can actually see they're actually walking on their like the point, like the point there. So you can see the human sketch here. I mean, the human arm here. Look, it's just like walking on the phalanges, the phalanges of the hands, right? It's so painful to, I mean, just imagine if you don't have like hoof to balance yourself off, you're just like, so much pain. Okay. And you can also see in the feet as well, right? It's like walking on your toes, basically on the point of your toes, right? So it's very, very, so there are, I mean, one of the best like functional design, that like nature has created. We have like flat, we had like flat feet, and these are still awesome, but like imagine like walking like this, directly on your toes. So awesome design, right? and they are still like very stable, very dynamic, like animals. And like, again, a horse is just like the fastest, one of the fastest land animal. So, all right, so let's get started. If you see this, like this is giraffe that Mike was talking about, this thing, right? Again, a layer. Yeah, Mike was talking about this thing. So see, this animal shapes is like really working, but it's just because of that, the spine, what I can say, like those bones which are like popping off from the spine, and that actually helps to distort that force shape a little bit, right? But it's just force shape like still underneath, that's created. By the way, like one of you guys are asking about muscles, and those muscles are all same, right? And every animal that's same. Only the size basically changes. Okay, so anyway, let's a little tip here. So here's giraffe, um, and yeah. So here's one more illustration from the book here, and what actually Mike did like very cleverly is he took like the human, let's say like the human parts, and basically like stretched them out, like distorted them out to actually fit with the comparative anatomy of the animals. So yeah, here's a knee.
I want everyone to know this was very weird to draw.
Right. I mean, it looks weird, but it works, so
yeah.
Yeah. So what we are just saying is like, and you can actually draw this, to remember things, because I know when I was like drawing for the book, sometimes it happens that, I suddenly forget. It's like, what is that, joint that's being created in between. So I usually remember this sketch and this sketch basically, right? So, and then you can compare that with the animal. So as you can see, like the heel is so up higher. If you just watch a horse leg in general, it won't feel like weird to you, but it feels weird to you when you just see the comparative anatomy and see the heel. This is the heel of the horse, and my God, it's like so up higher. And even the knee, like this is the body of the horse, this is like the silhouette of the body of the horse. And see, the knee is like even up higher than that, the level of that body. So yeah, knee and the heels, like very, very higher. And these three bones that you're looking at right now, like this, right? These are the three bones that you're looking at. These three are phalanges, right? Phalanges, if you don't know, is just like your fingers, basically the bones of your fingers. Okay, so you see like these three divisions in your fingers, that are the phalanges. Okay. By the way, this is
a more common word for that would be like your digits, right? So your digits are your phalanges.
Right, exactly. So anyway, I was talking about the front limbs of the horse. This is the back leg, right, or the leg, you can say, and these are the tarsos basically. So again, the digits of the toes, right? It's toes basically. So anyway, very weird sketch, but it works. It's great. All right, so let's move on from this, and now here's a close-up of basically the digits, and see the two digits, the two phalanges that we're talking about is in the hoof, so directly into the hoof right there. So this is also like it's very hard, the hoof is like very hard. I don't know like what kind of material that is, but yeah, it's balances out like everything there.
What is that called again? It's the same as our fingernails. God, it starts with the letter C. Anyone in the audience recall? What is the name of that material? You can keep drawing and talking. Let's see if somebody comes up with the answer.
Here is the odd-toed ungulates, that like Mike was talking about before. And this is a hippo's foot, right? Hippo's hand or foot, I guess. And see, like there's three divisions, in the feet, in the digits here. Same with the goat is an even one, right? So horse is an odd one, the hippo, that's three odd again, and the goat is an even one. So two divisions in the hoof basically, right? So here's hippo, and here's the last one, and we'll start to draw then. So here's some like little muscle, like very simple illustration. some like muscle shapes that I'm going to be using, right? And I don't see them as muscles. I just see them as simple shapes. Okay, just like four shapes basically. So when you draw, like you will get more glimpse of it, like how I use that. All right, so let's start. And the credit reference for the credit goes to Swanley here. Sorry, Swanley, I steal your references off from Discord. All right, so very gestural, Mike and Swanley, like they did animal, like basically from a little bit more profile shot. I'm going to be showing you more like how to use it more uh, like in a foreshortened, right? And like maybe like overlapped way. Okay. So let's start, really, really quickly. So I'm just like depending upon my animal shape here, right? The force animal shape, and see how quickly I just like get it. Again, it's because of the simplicity of the force animal shape, right? All the basics. So here, 1, 2, and 3 rhythms, right? Connected to each other, and the straight is actually there to connect them, right? So that's the straight. And here, as you can see, like this rhythm actually continues into the phase, and then I use like a straight here to kind of block the phase there. All right, my habit of drawing big every time. Okay, make it small. All right, so let's get I usually start to go with the legs first, right? It's all my mind, okay? So don't think like, okay, like how I'm able to do it that quickly, but it's in my mind there. So this is the knee, right? So I'm following this thing here. If this is the pelvis, that's the femur, and that's the tibia and the fibula, which again, like I'm just comparing it. So whenever you want to draw animals, keep those illustrations in front of you. Comparative anatomy, that's going to help you like basically a lot. So anyway, this is coming forward. As you can see, the femur is like coming out, and the ulna and the raise like goes back. So it's here in the overlap situation, overlap and foreshortened situation. So drawing that, and then just like really do like a quick, what you can say, like the quick gesture, of the feet there. All right. The other leg is always like a pleasure to draw, it's quickly like this, quickly like that. All right. So getting this done, Discord notification, sorry. All right. And get the arms done. Arms are always like, again, very, very great way. It's like super dynamic. I'm just using like here. I'm just like, as you can see, like I'm just like being very like simple and very gestural here, right? Yeah. So very, very gestural, very, very simple. And let's do the tail, I'm exaggerating it a little bit to like give it like a little bit more motion there. Let's raise this here. All right, so let's do like a really quick tail. Now I can go to like a little bit more specifics, now I can use those muscle shapes that I like told you before. Okay, so again, it's gonna be like too deep, if I try to explain like every muscle in here, right? But again, see them as shapes, and don't just go with the muscles and everything, just write it, because this is just a demo. I just want to show you, okay? But whenever you do it, go with the simple shapes, basically, okay? So here you can see in the arm, like what actually I'm doing. I've done this, right? Basically, I've done this. I'm just like clear about my structure, but I just like want to add, basically it's just with the same with the human forearm that we did, is like we add the Broca radialis like in the straight section. So what I did is like this, like adding muscle onto that straight path to be, to actually give it like more muscles. Horses are, by the way, I would consider like the bodybuilders of the animal kingdom, like super muscular and super great. Always a pleasure drawing them. All right, so here I'm getting to.
Horses have huge deltoids and pectoralis, like
right.
To Mrityunjay's point, like they're just carrying this huge weight load in their rib cage and their body, and they're just ripped, ripped horse, just like you said, bodybuilders, I think is a great example, Got this huge upper body, and you can always see their chest, and see the sternum, and just like I said, huge pecs. Yeah, really exciting.
They got horsepower.
Yes. Exactly.
Very
Oh,
good.
you're a funny guy. Yes, 1 horsepower. Yeah, it's true. We're gonna have to create a whole new IP off of that now. We're gonna do a cartoon on horses that are weightlifters.
Getting this knee, and you can see like their calf. I mean, even here, look, what's actually happening. This is happening here, and you can see like the knee,
Yep.
giant knee, and the calf shape here.
Yeah.
It's basically like human.
Yeah, it's cool.
All right, so getting this. It's like easy, once you like know all the basic stuff, it becomes like easy. So getting this here. This is again, the knee is here, the heel, I'm going to the heel right there, and then to the another joint, and basically to the hoof. Right, so something like this. There's this horse butt that I can see there. All right, getting that again, you can watch again with Swenley stream like how we did the ears and everything. So I'm just gonna do it like really quickly, and maybe some, yeah, like the face details and everything. Okay, so something like this, just very, very quickly. So how much time you got left?
You're over, actually.
Okay. All right. So,
And
and
just watching you draw the horse. So
last, I wanna like show you some drawings that I was like doing like preparatory drawings for the book. So here are some drawings here. Again, you can see the animal, the clarity of the animal shape here, right? It's very, very clear, even after like all the sculpting and the musculature and everything here. I kind of like I really like the one on the right, like the top right there, right? They're very, very sculptural. All right, guys. So hope you enjoyed my part, and I'm gonna hand it over to Mike to conclude the stream. All right, stop share. There we go.
all right, guys. Well, thank you everyone for coming today. I hope that you learned something about drawing animals, and we've made it potentially easier for you to tackle the subject. As Swenley said at the beginning, I know for me it was very, very difficult at the beginning as well, and I'm happy to have discovered this idea of being able to simplify. So go and draw some animals. Go visit your local zoo. Go draw your pet or your friend's pet or whoever has a pet. And I know they're intimidating to draw because they're always moving around, right? They're not the best model because they're always on the move, unless they're sleeping, of course. And then you don't want to draw them when they're sleeping. You want them drawing, running around. So the way to do that, is get that shape in really quick. You can just get the shape and a general direction of form, then just keep watching them moving around because they're going to repeat the same things, right? Meaning their stride and how they're walking. And then just, crank out some lines, almost like Swenley did. You can get some angles in and some shapes for the anatomy, the arms and legs. And, at least then you're off and running, right? You start actually drawing animals that are moving around and walking, and you're getting that shape, and you're getting their wheels in there under the car. And that's it. So it takes some practice. It's challenging to draw things, like I said, that are on the move, but you could do it. You could start with photography, like we were doing today, get a little more acclimated before you go out into the wild. But man, so much fun, right? So much fun to draw animals. They have so much personality, and we do a great job as humans of instilling them with our emotions and stories. They're obviously all over the entertainment industry. There's lots of films and comics, cartoons with animals as the main characters. So if you're interested in the entertainment industry, it's actually also really beneficial to learn more about animals. So that's it. Have a great weekend, everyone. We will see you next Friday with another awesome session. If you're interested in learning more about any of the stuff we're talking about here, please visit drawingforce.com. We all mentor there, and there's also subscription memberships there if you're not interested in mentorship to help you learn how to draw with force. So take care, everyone. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Friday. Bye-bye. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.